Hi, Siri. I'm looking for a new podcast, one that preferably is hosted by a UF Hall of Famer, one that airs every weekday that would bring me everything I need to know about the Florida Gators, including news, analysis, and opinions. Siri, is there such a show?
Have you heard of PodUp with Matthews in the morning on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, or any podcast platform?
Oh my gosh, why didn't I think of that? UF Hall of Famer Shane Matthews has a show every weekday. I'm gonna go check it out tomorrow. Thanks, Siri.
Good morning. It's National Signing Day, folks. It's a live edition. It's a Wednesday edition of PodUp Matthews in the morning. From the Crime Prevention Security System Studios, large enough to serve you, small enough to care. We'll have JC, we'll have Chris Harry. He'll break down the Gators match up against the Cavaliers of Virginia tonight. If you missed it last night, the ACC SEC basketball challenge going on. There is no challenge. The mighty SEC goes 9-1 with the biggest blue blood blowing it. The Kentucky Wildcats are the only loss. And I think you got 6 more games tonight, possibly, something like that. Let's go to the Titan More Hotline, courtesy of Comfort Temp. JC, SEC is pretty good in basketball.
We talked about that, and I think the conference is going to get a lot of teams in the tournament because I think these teams have staying power. Alabama lost their one of their best point guards, though, right cell, to an Achilles, so that's going to hurt them on their three-point game, and that's one of their biggest attributes on offense is the three-point shot. So the Alabama is going to definitely feel the pain of that loss. But the rest of the conference, including Alabama, look, they're very athletic, and they've got great coaches in this league, man. Great coaches in this league translates to really good basketball teams, if you ask me. And I think the Gators going to be right in the thick of it there.
Yeah, I heard Seth Greenberg on an interview saying he thinks 12 of the 16 teams
Wow.
will get into the tournament.
That is unprecedented, QB. Unprecedented. I mean,
Yeah.
Some conferences only used to have 12 teams. Now you're talking about 12 out of 16. Good heavens. That's 75%.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, we'll I believe Vernell Brown Jr. or the third has already signed his letter of intent. The quarterback from Mandarin signed his. It's all on Twitter. Somebody asked any big flips. Well, they flipped a bunch of guys in the last few days, so they should be signing at some point this afternoon or this morning. So
I read where there's going to be 20 to 23 or some odd new Gators. Pretty good. I remember this used to be in February, QB. It's great, isn't it?
Well, there is another one in February.
I know, but I mean, now the big day is today. It's now.
Yeah, and it's very early. And then in a couple of weeks, the portal opens and all hell breaks loose.
Yeah, that's right.
Pretty
Are
much.
they going to increase roster sizes, QB? I mean, did I read something about that, or is that?
Yeah, so it's going to go, gosh, this is something that I should have asked Nick yesterday. I want to say the rosters cannot be more than, I think, 105. Like right now, the Gators have about 135 on their roster, counting all the walk-ons. I don't know the answer to that.
Okay.
Many of our listeners know it, so they can let us know. I don't follow that kind of stuff.
No, I know, but Nick would definitely know that. So
Yeah. And Chris Harry may know it. We'll ask him.
Yeah.
A couple questions here on YouTube brought to you by Quality Plumbing. Barone's got a good one here. He says, QB, if you were a high school quarterback today, aside from the NIL money, what would be some of the offenses or programs you would be looking at that fit your style of play as a QB? Two jump out to I'm going to see if JC could pick the two that I'm thinking of off the top of my head.
The offenses today that would fit to your style. I'm going to say, let's go with Missouri.
Lord, no.
You don't think Freddie Cook and Luther Burns?
No.
Okay.
One of the schools is in the ACC and one is in the SEC.
Okay. No, not LSU.
Well, you can throw LSU in there.
The Georgia Bulldogs. That's one.
Yeah, they're not who I'm thinking of.
Well, Mike Bobo, I mean, it's the same. I thought that was pretty similar.
It would be the Texas Longhorns under Sarkisian.
Okay.
Would be my first choice. My second choice would be as bad. I mean, I wouldn't want to go play in the ACC because I'd probably eliminate them. That's what I did with FSU. Well, they weren't in the ACC.
Oh, wait a minute. I misheard the question. I apologize. I misheard the question. I thought you were saying which offense today would be comparable to what you played in when
No,
you
no.
play.
If I was being recruited today and I was getting ready to
totally
sign
sorry
on the
about
dotted
that.
line,
Okay, my mistake. There's no question you would go with the best play caller in college football, and that is obviously the guy at Texas. Yes, I get that. And
who's the ACC school I'm talking about?
The best play caller in the ACC would be Louisville, Jeff Brom, and then I think you would also probably consider, if you lived in California or Arizona, you would consider the Arizona State or Southern Cal offense. And I think that's similar to what you would look at. And I completely misunderstood what was asked, so I apologize for that.
Pay attention, JC. Pay attention.
Yeah, I was kind of drifty there, but no, I totally agree with that, QB.
That's 100. So Reggie let us know they're increasing the scholarship limit, which still blows my mind, from 85 to 105.
That's what I was curious about.
That's where it's going to be cut off. Yeah.
Okay. Well, we got it right then. You got it right, QB. You got the answer right.
Yeah.
Okay. So, by the way, for all you weight loss people out there, Zepbound is better than Wegovy. Okay. 2 receptors over 1. That's the Mounjaro offshoot from Eli Lilly, as opposed to the Ozempic offshoot from Novo Nordisk. That's your health tip of the day for the weight loss treatment that we all need, and the peptide that you should choose. So, having said that, QB, did you watch the show on the selections last night by chance?
Yes and no. I just, until there's too much going on, and I just want to know, what's going to happen and who's going to play where. But here's the bottom line: your school
comes down to one game.
No matter what.
It comes down to one game, QB. It comes down to one game.
Right.
These guys here need to race by your beloved Clemson Tigers. If they beat your beloved Clemson Tigers, then Clemson is out, and these guys get in, and that's raised all kinds of controversy.
And if the Clemson Tigers beat the team you're wearing the hat of, that sweatshirt is out.
That's right. That's exactly right. And then our beloved SEC gets 3 in the big dance. And I don't know if SMU loses badly to Clemson, if that's good enough. I think it will be, though, even with 2 losses, because I still think they had a better resume than Miami. Listen, Miami, I'm sorry. You guys had a 21-0 lead over Syracuse. I don't want to hear anything about the Miami Hurricanes. You are up 21-0. Your defense is pathetic. You've lost 2 out of the last 3. Enough for South Florida. Go and enjoy the Tangerine Bowl or whatever they play now. And that's Miami. And that's the end of it. It's really not that controversial, if you ask me.
No, it's not. I mean, obviously, the South Carolina, the Ole Miss people are raising hell. But
yeah,
look, somebody's always going to be upset. Daryl says on the Titan More text line, good morning. I have no problem with Alabama being in the playoffs over Miami. The Gators lost some players in the portal, but we will gain some. Yeah, we have lost some guys in the portal. Not surprised at all. Yeah, Miami is definitely out of the playoffs, right, JC?
Yeah, so Ward Manuel said basically the teams that won't be playing, they're not going to be adjusted. There's just no data point. There's no data point to make that adjustment. So I'm sorry, Miami. Again, enjoy the Tangerine Bowl. You had your chance, and theoretically, you can make the argument that after a bogus reversal in the end zone against Virginia Tech, or otherwise known as VPI, and a horrendous officiating job against California, you could have 4 losses very simply. So, great quarterback, got off to a great start. You guys forgot how to tackle people. That's just a fact. They forgot how to tackle people. QB, they were as bad tackling as Florida was last year. So,
yeah.
They just didn't care. I mean, the effort was not there to stop teams from going in the end zone. All they thought about at Miami was outscoring teams because of their very good quarterback. And that's okay, but it's not playoff worthy. And I get it. Alabama lost to an awful team late in the season, but you had 3 or 4 wins, I think, over top 25 teams. And listen, you beat South Carolina, folks. If you think South Carolina should be in because they're playing well right now, then you would have had to make that case for Georgia last year, because they were playing very well and were one of the 4 best teams last year in the country and didn't make the tournament. And the reason is because they lost to Alabama. And the reason why Texas had to go is because they beat Alabama. So it's the same thing. Data points, this, that, the other. Head-to-head has to be the biggest tiebreaker when it comes to teams with the same record. I don't care. I know people like Booger McFarland, Anthony McFarland, whatever. These LSU guys go on and on and on about their hatred for Alabama, and the reason is because they've gotten their ass kicked for 4 decades by Alabama, and their home field is called Happy Valley, because Alabama is happy to play there, as should just about everybody else. It's not a great place. It's the loudest place, and they have the
It's
best
a great
scenery.
place, JC.
It
It's a
is,
great
but
place.
by God, it's not the home field advantage everybody wants to make it out to be. I think.
Well, I think it is. I just think the other teams have been better.
This team owns them in Baton Rouge. So at any rate, enough with the LSU guys who talk about this and talk about
Zach says here on YouTube,
that.
brought to you by Quad Plumbing, Bama lost to 2 6-6 teams.
Yeah, that's right. And guess what? Ole Miss lost to Kentucky. So, I mean, come on. South Carolina, they played great. I'm not taking anything away from them, but they didn't beat Mississippi, and they didn't beat Alabama, and they had the same record. This is not an argument. Because, again, if Georgia was playing well enough to go to the playoffs last year, they should have been put in there. And somehow they got kicked out.
I think we need to go to 24 teams.
Well, they're going to 16.
They need to do exactly what the FCS does. All right.
They're going to 16. That should be good enough for everybody.
Yeah. Josh from Mississippi says, gentlemen, this is a Titan Lamar text line. There are some crystal balls on X that have 5-star wide receiver Dallas Wilson is flipping from Oregon to the Gators. Yeah, I've heard that. Look, here's what I will tell you. The mighty Gators have opened up the damn bank accounts. Okay? We're trying to win some football games now.
Damn right. I think the commitment is definitely there. They finally organized. It took a while.
Yeah.
God bless them.
They took the cobwebs off all the vaults with all the cash.
And I think they got organizationally sounder. You know, they figured out what this NIL and what this means and how to operate it correctly now. And I think they got the right people in place, Florida Victorious, whereas before it was just a mess. They didn't know what they were doing. Now I think they've got it figured out.
Text here from 941 on the Titan MR text line. Has the increased scholarship numbers also affected walk-ons? Yes. I heard teams are restricted to only 105 roster spots now, only scholarship athletes. This is a shame if true. It is I absolutely hate it. Hate it. Some of my best friends are walk-ons or were walk-ons. And,
yeah, I know, QB. That's unfortunate.
And it's just it's great having walk-ons on your program. They bring so much more to the table than your entitled 5 stars. You know what I mean? It's just different.
One of the all-time greats that played at the University of Florida as a wide receiver walked on. I mean, he walked on.
Irwin, Goring, Lewis Oliver. I mean, you can go on and on.
Yeah,
and on. But not just the guys that actually play, but I'm talking about the guys that people don't even know who they are.
Yeah, well, they go to practice, don't they? They go to practice.
Yes.
They go to practice. It matters. It matters.
All right, this day in sports brought to you by Campus USA Credit Union. Puts a star power to work in your financial life. Campus USA Credit Union. 2010 in Atlanta, the 19th SEC championship game. I was actually at this game. The Auburn Tigers, and Cam Newton defeated the head ball coach and the Gamecocks 56-17. It wasn't much of a game.
No, Cam was unstoppable, dude.
He was.
That guy was unstoppable.
It was a miracle that South Carolina was in that game. I mean, that's the only time they've ever made it there.
That's the only time. Yeah.
That's this day in sports brought to you by Campus USA.
Didn't he win 11 games back to back over there?
So, I think 3 straight times.
3 straight, excuse me. 3 straight. God, think about that. Well, listen,
here's what I will say about that. It's unbelievable that it happened. It'll probably never happen again there. However, Georgia wasn't what Georgia is. Tennessee was down. Florida was down during that whole time span.
Very true.
Yeah.
Very true. Very true. But you got to give him credit. I mean, he
no, I mean,
he got great players
in South Carolina, dude.
He got great players there. You know, he kept some of the kids in South Carolina to stay in South Carolina or not to go to Clemson, actually. And back then, Clemson stunk. I mean, he rocked Dabo. Speaking of Clemson, it is amazing how weak the ACC is and how amazing that they are able to play. Well, listen, they have 3 losses, but only 1 conference loss. So, you know, there are unbalanced schedules all over America. This is another reason why I think we're going to see 16-team playoff in 2 years or after next year.
Yeah, for sure. Text on the Titan MR text line. This is from Jimmy. He says, Shane, I heard you speak about what needs to happen next year. I would love to get JC's comments on what the Gators record needs to be next year.
It has to be okay. it's going to be either 8 or 9 wins. I'm going to say that. I think it has to be 9 to get to a playoff consideration. And as far as Billy is concerned, it has to be 8. That's my number. 8 wins.
Yeah.
You're not going to fire a coach with that schedule who wins 8 games. That will not happen. And so 8's the number for me. If they go 7-5, I guess, I don't know, but 8's the number for me, and 9 is very possible.
Well, you look at the schedule.
Well,
we're looking, but think about the schedule next year, JC.
Mm-hmm.
Miami is not going to be Miami. Cam Ward is the only reason they're worth a damn. He gone. Jackson Dart's gone. I know they got Austin Simmons, and Lane will get more players, but
he will.
You're losing a really, really good college quarterback.
Right.
Nussmeier will be back at LSU, but LSU has got some serious issues with their program. A&M, Connor Wigman is at the portal. They'll have Marcel Reed, but he's limited, man. I'm telling you.
Mm-hmm.
He ain't a great thrower.
Mm-hmm.
Who else do we play? Mississippi State will probably be a little bit improved, but they come to our ballpark.
Mm-hmm.
Florida State, I saw where DJ Uiagalelei is coming back for another year.
Well, God bless him.
Thank you. I hope he's your starter the entire year, Gus.
Gus isn't going to want any part of that guy, I don't think. But whatever.
And then Tennessee will have Nico back. Tennessee has a chance to be pretty good if he develops a little bit. We don't play South Carolina, so I know people say that the schedule is difficult, but it is what it is. Go play.
Well,
it, right?
The only thing I'd say, QB, you're right. The only thing is they trade 4 home games for 3 home games now on this schedule. I'm pretty sure that's right. I've gone through the teams.
We do have Long Island coming here.
Brooklyn, Long Island. But I think do they play UCF next year down there?
I think we do.
Okay.
So I don't know if we play them there. I don't know.
Okay.
Here we are talking about the schedule and we don't have it in front of us.
Well, I will say this: the SEC.
Georgia will have a new quarterback as well.
Yeah, but you're going to have Texas coming to town. You're going to have Mississippi State coming to town, and you're going to have Tennessee coming to town. But you have to travel to Ole Miss. You have to travel to LSU. You have to travel to Kentucky, and who am I forgetting?
If we cannot beat Kentucky in Kentucky next year, we need to just fold up the uniforms and call it a day because they're bad.
They beat them.
Bad football team. Nobody will change my mind on that. Justin says with Lagway and all the money being spent, it's playoffs or bust.
Well, I don't know about bust. I think again, if you win 8 games, you're gonna fire the coach. I mean, he's if he goes 8-4, you're not firing him.
Oh, they're telling me the DJU thing was a joke. Maybe it was a joke, but hell, guys are coming back there's talks about Cam Rising coming back for his 8th or 9th year.
It's crazy, isn't it? All these medical red shirts and COVID really kind of skewed everything there. But Jalen Milroe has another year of eligibility, QB. Jalen freaking Milroe. How many years have I got to watch him? I mean, I love the guy. I love the kid. He plays hard, man.
You like him on some games you don't like him. Let's be honest.
Well, I am being honest, and that's true. But my God, I didn't know he had another year of eligibility. I was very, very surprised when I heard that. So what's he going to do? Is he going to come back? Could you imagine him playing for another team? So I don't know. Is Garrett Nussmeier going to play at LSU again? I mean, is he going to stay there?
Where is he going to go?
Listen, somebody would love to have him, QB. You know that.
Yeah, he can throw the football.
You don't think Texas A&M would be interested in him? So I think. I mean, he was.
Yeah, they got Marcel Reed, man.
Yeah. Okay. Well, Marcel is what I affectionately term as a flag football type quarterback. He runs first and then looks to throw it if its guy is wide open. But I don't think Marcel Reed's going to carry them to the promised land. I just don't see that. But they did beat LSU.
Frank's question on the Titan More text line. He says, where does the bulk of the money come from? So we talked with Edgar about this a little bit. It's still a little unclear, but there's going to be that revenue sharing with about $20-something million that the university can actually pay athletes, not just football, but all athletes. Mm-hmm. However, you still have your collectives that can put together packages for the players. So majority of the money, I would say, comes from Florida Victorious right now, which are, we have some major donors that give money to that. Then you have your average person that does a monthly or weekly or whatever. But that's where it's coming from right now. So
yeah. Yeah, that's the house settlement for next year. That's
Yeah.
22, about 21 to 22 million for each of these Division I programs. But the SEC is going to negotiate a 9-game schedule with television to get more money. If they don't get more money out of ABC, then they will stay at 8, I'm afraid. And that means you're not going to play a lot of teams in this conference more than once every 6 years. And I don't really think that's much of a conference, frankly. I think that's
JC, I was thinking, we were just talking about the schedule next year.
Yeah.
I don't know what the highest price ticket of all time to get in the swamp has been.
I don't either.
But I believe when the Longhorns roll into town, it's going to be the highest price ticket ever.
That's possible.
Because they've never been here that I'm aware of.
No.
Not in recent time.
No, I don't think ever.
Think about who's going to be playing quarterback for them.
Right. And I mean, it's going to be a great game. And
what would our record possibly? I need to pull up next year's schedule. Well,
yeah,
has it come out yet?
So QB, they're going to play South Florida next year, not Central. Central Florida does get a game.
So do you have the schedule in front of you?
Well, no, I have a YouTube. Our glorious viewers are telling me it's a USF. But the thing is that they do owe Central Florida a game down there, and then Central Florida has to come back here. I know there's 2 more games against Central Florida, and next year it's going to be the Southern Floridians of the Bulls. So that's fine.
Okay, we just don't know. We just don't know the order of the games. I have them right here.
No, we don't know the order yet. Right.
I know Long Island is the opener.
Oh, God, please be an afternoon game too.
I'm just curious if we could possibly be undefeated and Texas be undefeated when they roll in here.
And I
don't know when that game is. So.
I'm gonna guess that if it was played in what was it, November this year? I mean, I have no idea. It's going to be.
We're sitting here just.
We're just guessing. Yeah. We're just guessing. But the cool thing is, you're right. You're going to have Arch Manning come in and Sarkisian and those white uniforms with that orange Bevo on the helmet. It's going to be a spectacle, dude. It's going to be so great to see. And I love the fact that they expanded this league to 16 teams with those 2 schools. And one day, if we do go to 9, you might get to see Oklahoma come in with that red and the OU. I mean, that's so cool, dude. That's what I want to see. But I think they got to go to 9 games. Simple stuff.
Okay. I got a text here from our man Van Der. I'm going to let you answer it first, JC.
Go ahead.
I got to pull it up on my phone now. Dadgummit.
Here's a question from Justin while you're looking that up. Do I think Alabama's in if SMU loses a competitive game? No, I'm afraid not. SMU will still make it. And
so Van Der on Facebook Live, brought to you by Mel, says, how do we know that big money's being tossed around? Maybe the flips are because they love being Gators.
Well, they don't know what it's like to be a Gator, but what
exactly.
They saw, however, what the Gators were somewhat all about there in November, Van. So, it could.
Right, but it's not like Brad Culpepper's kid signing because he loves being a Gator. No. Or now Vernell Brown's son. Yes.
He's a legacy.
He's also being paid a lot of money too, though, because he's very good.
Okay, very true. But it's what they call a legacy, right?
Yeah. So no, these kids that were committed to Texas and Oregon and USC.
I have no idea.
No.
I'll tell you what. If they say, "Hey, man, here's a map. Find me Gainesville." Then look at that state of Florida. They go, is it down there on the beach? Maybe no. Listen, I think he's done a great job here in the last month coaching this team and getting people to want to come here because of those 2 wins. It's just that simple to me. And going to FSU and dumping them and scoring 31 points doesn't hurt either. So the optics came to Florida. That's the thing, is these kids are all about optics, QB. All they do is look at this all damn day. And it's kind of like what you and I do too. But that's what they see. And when they see these guys celebrating in the end zone in their blue uniforms with their orange helmets and they're beating up on the LSU Tigers, it's a great thing for the program. It's just as important marketing-wise as some coach knocking on the door saying, hey, why don't you come be a Gator? Almost as important, I would say, because the optics are everything these days. And when the body language is good, the kids want to be a part of that. And listen, DJ Lagway is a superstar. I know his stats he's not Danny Werfel or Rex Grossman yet, but my God, his name is carrying weight with the kids today. It carries weight. It's important. DJ Lagway is your salesman. And right now it's working. And I think it's a great turnaround in a month's time. It's amazing how fast things can change.
I'm not aware of this. Maybe you are, JC. Rodney says on Facebook Live, brought to you by Mel Law. What do you think about the former CEO of AT&T being hired to fix Oklahoma football?
I was unaware of that, but AT&T.
Well, my question is he going to, whoever this gentleman is he now their, quote, general manager? Because everybody's getting ready to hire general managers. Or is he actually a football coach?
Yeah. Yeah.
JC, you should go be our general manager.
I could straighten. Oh, baby, I could get things.
What would you do, JC?
I would absolutely require total loyalty first and foremost. That's the first thing. You'd have to be wearing orange and blue when you wake up and go to bed at night, brother. You have to love the Gators. And
Toby asked, will Texas bring Bevo to the swamp? I don't think Bevo don't travel.
What's he weigh?
He ain't gonna travel that far.
What's he weigh? About 3,000 pounds?
2,200 pounds.
Put him on a plane. Yeah, no. But what a great mascot. You were so proud of yourself for getting that picture on the end zone.
I love that animal. He was fascinating to me. He stood still. JC, he stood still from about 9 a.m.
Here's Bevo.
3:30. Think about that. He didn't move.
Here's Bevo.
That's him. Hey. He just looked straight ahead. He don't even move his head. He just looked straight ahead the whole game.
No, wait. There we go. Is that better?
That's you.
That's Bevo. And then he drops about 10 pounds of you know what? There.
Well, you know he dumps in a bucket that says Aggie, A&M Aggies on it.
Yes. It's great that they've resuscitated that, Robert, because it usually would have said OU, I think, on that bucket. But that's great. God bless them. I got to be honest with you. I like Texas. I really like Texas. I got to be honest with you. I like Texas. Everything about that state is good for me.
All right, JC, let's get our Peachland Dental, Gator Nation's #1 choice for dentistry, Port Charlotte, surrounding areas. Go visit them at peachlanddental.com. Our pick, we got just a third. We'll pick. There's other games. There's college games on Friday, but we'll pick what's the Thursday night NFL game?
That's a really good one. If you need to find a way to watch it, go to watch it. It's the Packers getting 3 points at Detroit. This line was at 5. It opened up. The early line was 5. It's gone down to 3. People are on board with the way Green Bay's playing right now. The game's in Detroit. Detroit's got a lot of injuries on defense. They're starting to pile up. So that's unfortunate for the Lions, but I think at home you just get a very difficult team to try to beat. Offensively, they're on time. I don't know how they lost to the Buccaneers, but that's their only loss this year, and it was in Detroit. However, I think the Lions -3 at home is good enough for me. I'll take them over the Packers.
Man, the Lions are only a 3-point favorite at home.
That's it. Their defense is being ravaged with these injuries.
Yeah, I'm going to take the Packers. I love the Lions, but something doesn't sound right there. And the Lions probably need to lose a game.
That's true. Yeah, I mean it kind of.
However,
yeah,
isn't they're what 10-1?
10 or 11, yeah, something like that.
Yeah, and Minnesota's only got 2 losses, right?
Minnesota only has 2 losses.
So they do need to keep winning. But I'm going to take the Pack. Go Pack, go.
Lions are 11-1. They've played 12 games right now. So Minnesota, they have the tiebreaker on Minnesota. So in effect, they have a 1.5 game lead on the Vikings. Okay. So, but they will play the Vikings again one more time. They have clearly a much more difficult schedule. If you line it up with the Philadelphia Eagles, who are the only other team I think that's in that conference that other than Minnesota that is a threat to Detroit. The Eagles schedule is the Giants, the Commanders, the Cowboys. I think it's really weak relative to what. Look, Buffalo's going to Detroit too. You've got some tough games there for the Lions. And of course, on my fantasy, I've got Josh Allen on both my leagues. I'm going against this weekend, and he's going to shred my Rams. So it doesn't look good for JC's fantasy team either. But I'm in the play. So.
We real quick, JC, before we get out and get to Chris Harry. Sure. Josh in Mississippi says on YouTube, brought to you by Quality Point, says, how is JC saying they have to go to bed wearing orange and blue when he's wearing a Bama shirt and an SMU hat?
Josh, that's excellent. Well, I haven't been hired yet, Josh. Once they hire me as general
JC,
manager, all this goes away. It goes away because now I'm being paid. All right. They pay me. But I did go to the University of Florida as a graduate student for 2 years. So there you have it. Listen, man, I grew up here. All right. I got it. But this was my school. I graduated from there. And I need these guys to run by Clemson and dump them on the side of the road so that we can weasel our way in. And by the way, I got a refundable fare on American Airlines out of Jacksonville to South Bend, Indiana. And I'm about to buy one to State College just in case, because I think SMU can beat Clemson.
All right, we got to talk basketball. Have a good day, JC. If JC joins us on the Titan Tomorrow hotline, courtesy of Comfort Temp, be right back. We'll talk.
I'll beat you in free throws, TV. I'll beat you in free throws.
There's no way.
There is a way. Okay.
Premium sponsors are Campus USA Credit Union, Crime Prevention Security Systems, Titan MRI, Meldon Law, QC Kinetics, UF Health Orthopedics and Sports Medicine Institute, Dave & Buster's. Gridiron sponsors are Florida Cracker Kitchen, Comfort Temp, Peachland Dental, Ruse Ogre State Farm, Tropical Smoothie Cafe, Cogent Bank, UF Bookstores, Florida Victorious, Quality Plumbing, Silverback Concrete, Electronics World, Miapa Latin Cafe, 84 Lumber, Baker's Sporting Goods, Big Mills Cheesesteaks, Celebrate Primary Care, Dowling Signs, Gator Dominoes, Ironwood Golf Course, Okido America, Gator Bait Media, Bishop's Barbecue, Los Linderos Tequila, Sunshine Holiday Lights, MG&A Wealth, Nest and Wow. Watch and listen to us live on Facebook and YouTube. Listen to the podcast whenever on Apple or Google Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen to your favorite podcast. Remember to like, follow, and subscribe so you don't miss an episode. To become a sponsor, call my man Freddie at 352-284-3733.
After serving over 100 families over the past several years, we're super excited to kick off the holiday season. I'm Dylan, I'm Garrett, and we're Sunshine Holiday Lights. We all know how stressful it can be to decorate your home during the holidays. Our services include installation of all material, maintenance, takedown, and storage of the material throughout the year. If you want to spend more time with your family this year, give Sunshine Holiday Lights a call.
Naysayers, setbacks, injuries. Life throws a lot of hurdles your way. The key is just keep jumping them.
Welcome back to the Crime Prevention Security System Studios, large enough to serve you, small enough to care. Miapa Latin Cafe. Discover the ultimate Cuban culinary experience at Miapa Latin Cafe. With 5 locations in Gainesville and Alachua, you're never far from the best Cuban food north of Miami. Back to the Titan Number Hotline, courtesy of Comfort Temp. It's our man Chris Harry, who covers the Mighty Gators for FloridaGators.com.
They are mighty right now.
They're very mighty right now.
They're playing mighty. Okay,
They are
say that
mighty.
with your yes.
So before we jump into that game, the SEC flexed its muscles last night against the Atlantic Coast Conference. They go 9-1. The Big Blue Nation is the only loss. Are you surprised at all?
Well, if you look at the metrics, like the KenPom metrics, the Torvik metrics, or what have you, SEC has been far and away the best team in the country to date. They've been like second, third, fourth the last few years, but I don't think it's close this year. And I think that was what happened last night was a pretty good example on a national scale. When you think about it, before going into last night, I think 5 SEC teams were undefeated. That number is obviously, I guess it's 4 now. It's 4 were undefeated, but there's now 3 SEC teams in the country that remain unbeaten at this juncture of the season out of the 14 that are unbeaten. And just talking off air like we were before, Kentucky lost. Yeah, the rest of the games weren't very competitive, actually. No. Arkansas did a nice job to come back and win that game, but I don't know how it'll go tonight. There's some interesting games tonight, especially the Duke Auburn game. Auburn's number 1 in the country by all the advanced metrics, not in the polls. I think they're number 2 in the polls, but they're number 1 in KenPom. So that'll be quite a game. I mean, I really like these challenges. I don't know how much coaches like them, and I know they don't like it. They didn't like them. I really liked them in January when they used to play in that last week in January. During the weekend of the AFC NFC championship games, when kind of they had their college basketball was front and center on Saturday. They just had 12 hours of challenge basketball, like unique kind of games that kind of frankly look like NCAA tournament games in March, some of them. And this Duke Auburn game will look like that, except it will be Cameron indoor and, a rarity. A really good Auburn team going to play a really good Duke team. That'll be cool.
Yeah, Auburn's damn good. Let's talk about the Gators.
Yes.
Gators had a very impressive performance down in Orlando during Thanksgiving. Just demolished a couple of teams. Could they have played any better down there?
Well, they could have played better probably offensively. Talking to Steve Forbes, the Wake Forest coach after the game, this is the thing that it's one thing when you think it. It's another thing when you hear an opposing coach talk about it. He said usually when teams aren't playing well on offense, aren't making shots, they let that dictate how they perform on the defensive end of the ball of the court. He said that's what really he noticed about Florida. They didn't let that do that. And when you think about it, that was their Achilles heel all last season, was how poorly they would play on defensive. And if they weren't playing on offensive, it became worse. But all that, the way they're playing defensively, I mean, I think the 2 tournament games they held the opponents under 39%, and I think it was 19% from the 3-point line, forced a bunch of turnovers. I think the totality of the rebound margin was 100 to 60. I think it was plus 20 on the offensive end. Just doing a lot of things well. Now we'll see as the season goes on how good those 2 teams are, Wake and Wichita. I think Wake may be a little bit better than Wichita was. But the next, you can only play who's on your schedule. Obviously, we've said that before. Next up is Virginia. Virginia isn't the Virginia that we've watched the last few years. They're with Tony Bennett. But then there's Arizona State. They're better. And then, of course, it all leads up to the North Carolina game, which will be the barometer for this basketball team eventually. But right now, they're playing very well. They just need to build on it and keep this chemistry going. I was going to say, and I lost my train of thought, but the reason, if you ask me, like, what's going on defensively, I think we talked about it when I was on your show last week. It's Elijah Martin is really a catalyst for what this team does, because his energy on that end spills over. Also, he doesn't care if he scores. He can score. He had 32 points in one game. He's averaging, I think, 14 a game. I think he's second leading scorer on the team. But how he impacts the game on the defensive end, he rebounds, he passes the ball. Just a huge transfer acquisition for this team and its mentality relative to how they guard.
Yeah. Who, in your opinion, so it's crazy, college basketball, just college athletics, but basketball is the worst, because I flip on Ole Miss Louisville last night, right? And I think it was, his dad was the announcer for North Carolina for all those years. He's a broadcaster for the Falcons. He does all these, Dan Bonner and, anyway. So-and-so, point guard, he's a transfer from here. Forward, he's a transfer. I swear, the 10 guys that started the game for Louisville and Ole Miss, there was only one returning player for both. That was Matthew Morrell, who was at Ole Miss last year. But it's crazy. The reason I'm asking that, with our transfers that have come into this team, they've gelled pretty well early on. Which one has stood out the most to you?
That's the one. And you mentioned Martin, and I think Ole Miss retained a couple guys. Isn't Brakefield still on the team?
He may have been, but it was crazy. And I can't believe he's one of my favorite announcers. What's the guy's name? His dad was the longtime basketball announcer at North Carolina. I'm gonna have to look at it.
But I mean, especially like a team like Louisville, which changed coaches, they're going to have a ton of transfers. These coaching changes good, but Florida retained 5 rotational players from their team last year, so that is a difference. But now you bring in Elijah Martin, who just his whole mentality of how he plays is different. But I don't think you can discount the winning pedigree. The guy won 60 games the last 2 years playing at Florida Atlantic. So he knows how to win. He knows what winning looks like, and there's just something about him that kind of takes over through the team. When he came in, one of the things that Todd Golden, when they were trying to bring, because they knew they were keeping these guys, they knew they were keeping Walter, they knew they were keeping Will. They had the front court guys coming back. They wanted to make sure that whoever they were bringing in to play that guard position, that in essence was going to take Riley Kugel's place, was somebody who could mesh with these guys, and there wasn't going to be this kind of contentiousness or any kind of, maybe some stress between them on who's the guy. Well, Will and Walter took him out on his recruiting visit, and they got along great, and they talked about some things as far as the success on the basketball court and how they wanted to play. And no one's taking anybody's minutes among those three guys. They're all playing about the same. I think Walt is always going to play the most minutes if he can. Elijah is playing more than Will right now. But I tell you, Will Richard has been fantastic. He hasn't shot the ball great, but he's rebounding better. He's guarding better, which is what the NBA guys told him he needed to do when he went through the early evaluation process. And I think he's over 2 assists a game, so he's passing the ball better. All of them, it's an unselfish brand of basketball. But the biggest thing that jumps out to me is the way they're defending.
Yeah,
they were 94th in the country last year in defense. I think coming in this morning, I think they were 19th. So
yeah, that makes a big difference. Wes Durham is his name. Wes Durham.
Wes Durham.
Yeah.
Is he related to Hugh Durham?
No, I don't think so. His dad was a long-time announcer for the Tar Heels.
What about Bull Durham or Leon Durham?
Maybe.
Okay.
A text from George. He says, speaking of Riley Kugel, how's he doing?
He's playing for Mississippi State. I thought someone was going to ask me about Olivier, so I thought the text.
I was going to ask you about that because
it's coming. Because
right? You haven't been on before. You came on, I think, before y'all went to Orlando for the Thanksgiving. But there was somebody after that weekend. Was it the Wichita State game that we won by like 50?
Won by 37. Yeah.
Okay, whatever it was. I believe the entire bench played but him. Is that correct? Somebody texted the program and wanted to know why he didn't get in the game.
Not the entire bench, because they got another guy trying to redshirt. But yeah, he's redshirting. Stop.
Right. So what people don't understand is it's different than football, right?
Right. It is. Yes.
Yeah. If he walks on that floor, it probably
one
screws
game,
it up.
and he could walk on and blow out his knee. I hope that doesn't happen, God forbid. Right. But I mean, it's all about medical. So there is no percentage of games like it used to be. It's the rules are all different.
All right. So,
but Riley Kugel, when the Gators play in Starkville, is going to play significant minutes for the Bulldogs. I don't have his stats in front of me, but Todd Golden and I were talking about it a couple of days ago. He said he's playing. He's not starting for them right now, but he's playing a lot of minutes.
And again, sometimes, especially in basketball, you see it all the time. A different school may be good for him.
That's right, and that's the team he originally signed with, even though it was a different coach at the time, I believe. So, he's actually no, it was a different. They fired their coach at the time, but it's a good fit for him, and not gonna disparage Riley Kugel anyway. I mean, he transferred. Everybody transferred.
Exactly. Right? We got some good transfers on our team. All right. So looking at the game tonight, you said, obviously Virginia's not what Virginia has been. Have they changed their philosophy now that Tony Bennett's not the coach?
I think they still play that. They're still playing the pack line defense where they don't want to surrender some stuff or in the paint. They want to guard the paint. They're really good at closing out and everything. They just don't have the players that they've had. And again, when Tony Bennett resigned, I think it was less than a month before the start of the regular season. I mean, he copped to the idea. He wasn't transitioning to this whole new way of college athletics. Same way you were a little slow to it, Shane. That's not. He doesn't want to go out and pay players to come play for him. He was trying to offer like an education, one of the best public universities in the country, that kind of thing, and come play his brand of basketball and play in the ACC and all that stuff. And that wasn't good enough for him.
What's amazing to me that he got good players to come play. I think he's a tremendous coach, but that's like asking people to come play in the Wishbone, right?
the way that, yes, exactly. And having said that, when the year they did win the national title, I think they had 5 NBA players on the team, and they scored. I think they were number in the top 3 in the country in offense, and in the top 5 in the country in defense. I think their offense was actually statistically better than their defense, and they weren't as brutal to watch. They still ran clock. Anyway, this team, going back to what Ron Sanchez does, he was Ron Sanchez, who took over for Tony Bennett, was his assistant for a long time. Went to Charlotte for 4 years, didn't work out there. He came back last season, I think, to become associate head coach. But they still want to do the same thing. They got some guys that can shoot threes. They don't shoot them prolifically because they are the slowest offense in the country, 364th out of 364 Division I teams. They have the fewest. They run the fewest possessions of any team in the country, but they got a bunch of 3-point shooters above 38%. Isaac McNeely is a guy you got to keep an eye on. He's a 3-year starter there, kid from West Virginia, best player. But after that, they kind of piecemealed this team kind of together after. And again, Tony Bennett left, so these guys didn't go. These guys couldn't leave after that. So this was the team he had. He may have looked at him and said, "No, this ain't going to work out for me."
Electronics
but Florida's going to be a prohibitive favorite, but you still got to score against them, and they got to carry over. They can't be hung over from this thing last week and just think that they figured it all out, because this team can come in and really, really frustrate them if they're playing defense the way they can. Excuse me.
Electronics World integration and design specialist for smart home automation and entertainment, affordable local installation service and support. Go check them out, electronicsworld.net. A few more minutes with Chris Harry on FloridaGators.com. Text on the Titan MR text line. This is I don't know who this is, but they said, can you ask Chris about Thomas Hawk? He seems to out-hustle everyone. He's like Jack Pyburn, right? He's that guy that nobody wants to play against because
not bad.
His motor never stops.
I mean, you gotta love the guy. And that's how he is every day in practice. And one of the things that's been impressive. So this tells you how hard the guy works. Last year he was a 45.7% 3-point shooter, or excuse me, free throw shooter. He's in the gym so much over the summer, really concentrating on doing that because the way how hard he plays, diving on balls, chasing rebounds and stuff. He's going to get fouled a lot. And he's now up to, I think, 81% from the free throw line now. So I think he's 5th on the team in minutes, and he comes off the bench. Very happy with his role, as far as I know. You know, they got a bunch of guys that are averaging over 4.5, 5 rebounds a game. Thomas Hawk is a very, very valued player on this team, and the coaching staff absolutely loves him. And the best thing about it is Tommy likes being here. He and Condon are best friends, so they're going to be a tandem here for probably, obviously, through this year and God willing, at least next year, the way these things are, right?
Text on the Titan MR text line from Chris in Mayaca. He says, I like the Redskins hat Chris is wearing. They are and forever will be the Redskins. How far away is Micah Henlockton from seeing the court? He's redshirting, but is he practicing? Is he not full go, but can he?
He's not contact yet, but like when they're running up and down, he can go now. And he's been great in terms of what they've asked him to do. You can see him; he's a very active cheerleader on the end of the bench for this team. He helps Olivier with some stuff. You can hear him the plan all along has for him to sit out this season. But I expect he'll be in there playing full scout team minutes probably in January once the SEC starts, and that'll be a beneficial thing because that's another 7'1" guy they'll have to challenge during practice, and it'll help him too, obviously.
Yeah, speaking of the conference, before we get you out of here, obviously I saw an interview. I spoke with JC about it. Seth Greenberg said he thought 12 teams from the SEC would make the tournament. That's a lot.
That was the bracket. I think that said their bracketology. That was bracketology was projecting that, and I heard that, and I went to the bracketology, which they've already started. And I mean, like Georgia's in there. It's funny, like Oklahoma was picked either next to last or third to last from the team, and they're one of those undefeated teams. They won the
Battle of Atlantis.
Battle for Atlantis, and they're 8-0 now, and obviously they won last night. So who
would be the four teams right now that aren't in the tournament?
The 4 teams that aren't in the tournament: Vanderbilt,
Vandy.
I saw South Carolina right now. So the first net rankings came out, right? And every road game except South Carolina would be a quad one. So that's that's stunned me.
Why,
So South Carolina
why
was
is
the only
South
one
Carolina
out of the
not considered a quad one game?
because because their net ranking is around 120 or something like
Okay.
that. So
But
it has to be in the
that
top
could change
75.
though, right?
They could change. They won
Yeah.
26 games last year, and they went to the
Yeah.
NCAA tournament. So they lost some players, obviously. But let's see, South Carolina, Vanderbilt. Help me out here. Where
Missouri?
are we on this? I don't know. I mean, they had a really good recruiting class. They were terrible, obviously, last year.
Texas?
19. No, Texas is ranked. LSU maybe, but they looked pretty good last night against Florida State, right?
Yeah.
We'll see. I'm telling you, it's going to be a bloodbath season. And I was going to say Florida's toughest games are on the road, but if you look at the schedule, I mean, everyone's going to be hard. I was looking at, I think once the league, they could have 12 quad one opportunities in the league alone.
So right now, before we don't start conference play for a while, but whoever wins the regular season, how many losses you think they have? Conference losses.
Whichever SEC team wins the regular season, how many losses will they have?
Because the league is so hard. I mean, nobody's going to run through this thing and go undefeated. But 4 or 5?
14-4 maybe? 14-4. Alabama obviously is favored to win the league, but they lost their Latrell Wrightsell, their 3-point specialist. He's done for the season. So they're still waiting on that. The guy's name Goodrich or Bloodworth, a guy from the USF transfer who was the player of the year in the league last year for USF for South Florida. They're waiting for him to get healthy. He's supposed to be ready to play. I was looking at something that some of these teams are playing brutal schedule, and they're really battle testing themselves or either wearing themselves out for the start of the league. Alabama's one of those teams that's just playing a ridiculous schedule. So
yeah,
it's an interesting time of year, but we'll be talking about a lot of basketball hopefully in January.
Yeah, it should be fun. I'm excited. I'm just watching some of the games last night and obviously tonight. So if you cannot watch the games or if you are watching the games, you can follow Chris on Twitter at Gators Chris. He tweets. So this is a dumb question, but I think
what's my tweet strategy during a game?
I think I know the answer. You're not using your phone. Can't you do all your tweeting on your keyboard?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I would. Yeah, you can. Yes, there's a tweet deck, Shane. Coming to the modern times or whatever.
I'm terrible with technology.
But what I do, I usually tweet at every media timeout, and if something happens on the floor, something like that.
Don't you sit by the head ball coach at home games?
When the head ball coach comes, they usually work to find a place for him on the sidelines.
Yeah.
My favorite head ball coach. He's sitting next to me for a game last year. Someone reaches over. He goes, "Hey, coach, can I get a picture?" He goes, "No." And you can see it, right? You can see it, right?
Oh, there's no question. There's nobody like that guy.
No,
not today.
Yep. Wasn't ready for it.
All right, Chris. Hey, where do you think the Gators are going to? What bowl game we're going to? Tampa? I thought it would be Jacksonville. I keep hearing about Gasparilla.
Yeah. Which one, as a player, would you rather play on the 2nd of January or before Christmas and knock it out? And I don't know what the strategy would be for the coach. Does the coach want to have more practices?
No, Billy's already said in one of his last press conferences, you get, first of all, the 15 practices, is the extra practices makes no sense to me. That would be like y'all practicing 15 basketball practices and then you don't play a game for 6 or 7 months, right? Does no good. And he says, my guys, if I told them we were going to practice 15 times, they would raise hell because you just don't need to. But before Christmas or after, I don't know. I feel like South Carolina and Ole Miss are going to be in the Outback and the Citrus. And then I feel like the next best bowl is the Gator Bowl. And the Gators will fill it up, obviously. But I know we'll have a good crowd at Gasparilla too. So I don't know. I wanted to go to the Music City Bowl. That ain't gonna happen.
I mean, the better game would probably be the Gator Bowl. Will probably draw the better opponent, right?
Yeah, I think that's either Duke, Georgia Tech, or Syracuse.
Mhm.
And those people,
Mhm.
especially Syracuse, bring a good crowd because of the weather.
Yeah, I mean Georgia Tech's not that far away, and
Right.
they've had a really really good season.
They
So
did.
that
Yeah.
both of those would be challenging games, probably more challenging than the Gasparilla
Yeah.
Bowl.
So
But
we'll
I think
find out.
I'd rather be in Florida than go to Liberty Bowl.
Yeah. So we'll find out Sunday where we're going. Chris, good stuff as always. Appreciate your time and hail to the Redskins.
Hail victory. See ya.
All right. That's Chris Harry from FloridaGators.com. Join us on the Titan MRI hotline. Silverback Concrete builds firm foundations for generations. You stand on it. We stand by it. Have a great day. Enjoy the game tonight. See you tomorrow. Take care.